Hello there. Welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We're glad you're with us. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And this week we're going to do both. We're going to meet interesting people and deal with topical issues.
Indeed. We're having back some representatives from the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board, OERB, a nice sponsor of this show, but also doing some great work out in the community on behalf of the oil and gas industry, but really benefiting all of Oklahoma. And they've got several outreach programs that are just new and exciting, and you're going to get to hear about them today.
They do a lot of good work. We'll learn more about the OERB today on The Verdict. Stay with us.
It's time, America. Our energy future can be ours again with American natural gas. We have an abundant, affordable supply, unrivaled anywhere. $1 billion a day for importing foreign oil isn't just a statistic, it's an opportunity. 30% lower greenhouse emissions isn't a pipe dream, it's a choice. Now is the time. Chesapeake, America's champion of natural gas.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
This woman is having a heart attack, and she doesn't even know she's at risk. Heart attacks aren't always as dramatic as you see on TV. Gone unchecked, heart disease could crumple everything. A simple heart scan could save your life. Get a $50 heart scan at St. Anthony, the most trusted experts in cardiovascular care.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guests.
Today we're really pleased to welcome two guests to the set of The Verdict, both representing the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board, or OERB. To my right, across the table, is David House. David is chairman of OERB. He did his undergraduate work at Harding University in accounting. He is a CPA. He's had over 30 years experience in the independent oil and gas exploration and production business. He is presently involved as an independent producer in Tulsa, and he's involved with Gyra Resources in Tulsa. I practiced that before we started and blew it, but that's all part of the course for me. Anyway, he is active in the Oklahoma Independent Petroleum Association and the Natural Gas Association. And of course, his activities with ORB is what we're going to talk about today. David, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
On my left is Tim Munson. Tim is the Scholastic Outreach Chairman for OERB. We want to talk to Tim about his activities in that regard. He did his undergraduate work and his master's degree work at West Texas State University in geology. He's been an exploration and production manager for Spartan Resources for a while. He has been involved in the oil and gas business for a number of years. He's been active in OERB for about the last 10 or 11 years. And this is his first visit to The Verdict. Tim, sure glad to have you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, David, Tim, great to have you both on the show. David, tell us about what you're doing when you're not with OERB. Let's start with the personal side.
Well, of course, I spend a lot of my time at Gyra. We have a small production company there. And then when I'm not working, I spend some time on cutting horses, and I've got a new 3-month-old grandson, so he takes a lot of my time.
And you live in Tulsa?
I live in Tulsa, yes, sir.
We appreciate you driving down here to do the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
All right, Tim, what about you?
Well, I am a geologist, and I am the exploration manager for Spartan Resources, and that pretty much takes up most of my time outside of OERB, aside from spend a lot of time with a lot of nieces and nephews, and they keep me pretty busy.
Well, how'd you get involved with OERB?
Well, I've been involved with the OERB a little over 10 years. I was originally involved as a Petro Pro. And our Petro Pros are industry folks who go across the state talking to school-age children about the importance of science and math and how it applies to the oil and gas exploration business.
And David, how about you?
Well, I have been involved with OERB for probably 10 years and came up through the accounting and administration committees side of the organization.
What was it about OERB, David? That's a volunteer organization. Nobody made you get involved with it.
No.
What about OERB interested you enough for you to become active?
Well, OERB is a great organization from both an environmental cleanup and an education standpoint. It is absolutely the best program in the nation. And there's no other similar organization that does as much for both education and environmental cleanup. And Oklahomans should be very proud of what OERB has been able to accomplish in the last 16 years.
Yeah, this is about a third or fourth show with dealing with OERB, but just for those 2 or 3 viewers that haven't watched the other 3 or 4 shows, even though your name ends in board, you're not a state agency. You don't get state or federal funds, do you?
No. All of our funding comes from voluntary contributions from oil and gas producers and royalty owners.
Is that who your members are by and large?
Yes, yes. Membership is by contribution, and it's voluntary, and 1/10 of 1% of gross revenue, and 95% of all producers and royalty owners in the state participate with us in this program.
Whose idea was that?
I guess it would have to go back to some OIPA leaders back 15, 17 years ago. And I don't know, Melvin Moran and Ken Harrell and some of those gentlemen were really instrumental in beginning that. Mike Cantrell, some of those guys.
Well, Tim, tell us what about OERB got you interested? Why did you decide to spend what little free time you have volunteering at OERB?
Well, as I mentioned, I got originally involved as a Petro Pro, getting to know the different curricula and programs that the OERB has and the impact that it has on the students and the citizens of Oklahoma as far as education. Aside from all the environmental restoration work which we do and we're very well known for, it's just, it's very important that we, get in touch with the next generation of energy leaders and emphasize the importance of math and science and how that will help carry you forward as you progress in your educational career.
David, who sets the agenda for OERB about what you're going to do and what you're not going to do? How is OERB governed?
Well, we have a board which is made up of about 18 industry representatives representing all segments of the industry. We have independent producers, major purchasers, royalty owners, and we as a board set the agenda, if you will, for OERB and the process that we'll use to go forward.
How often do you look at establishing new programs? Is it annually, all the time? What is your
New programs are looked at, I would say, on a continuous basis. The board meets every other month, and of course we have reports in the interim when we don't meet. But we meet every month, committees meet every month, and we try to look at where we are in our programs, what's working, what's not working, and what should we do different to better enhance the education and the environmental cleanup that we embarked on a number of years ago.
Is there a part of the state that needs your services more than other parts?
Well, really from the education standpoint, we try to cover the entire state. Over 95% of all schools utilize our curricula in K through 12. And so we're very all-encompassing across the state. In terms of environmental cleanup, I would say that the older oil fields, the original oil fields that were developed back in the turn of the century and after that, get a little bit more attention than some of the newer natural gas producing areas.
About what year did the oil and gas industry start becoming somewhat more responsible? In other words, if you hear a date of a well, you probably have some idea of whether or not it was responsibly handled at the end.
Yes. Well, I would say that beginning in the 60s, people began to be more aware of the environmental repercussions of what we were doing, and certainly that grew and grew into the 70s and 80s and actually became more of a national focus. The environment became more of a national focus in the 70s and 80s, but we in our industry had already begun to think about that even before it became a national trend.
Now, either one of you, OERB has a headquarters. You've got an executive director in Mindy Stitt.
Yes.
And some staff. Where is it located and what do they do?
Well,
besides run the organization.
Yeah, well, that's not just, that's a lot. So, of course, Mindy has been an executive director of OERB for a number of years, and prior to that she was our education coordinator. So she's been involved in the organization almost from the very beginning, day one. And she leads a staff of education-oriented people, and then we also have a contractor that handles all of our environmental restoration work for us.
So how many staff, paid staff do you have?
Oh, I suspect that OERB has a total of 15 people on the payroll on an ongoing basis.
Let's talk about the education area, why don't we?
Absolutely. The educational area, I think, is one area that a lot of people don't know a whole lot about. They know you go out and you clean up wells and stuff, but you're actually out there from an educational standpoint trying to get people to learn more about the industry and the environmental importance of all these projects.
Right. Well, we look at education as a very important part of the mission that we accomplish. We have developed, along with teachers and industry professionals, curricula for K through 12. And as I said earlier, it's being utilized by about 95% of the schools in Oklahoma. We have trained over 10,000 teachers in this curricula. We provide them supplies. I think last year we spent a little over $500,000 in training and providing supplies to the teachers in the state of Oklahoma in that 1 year. And we anticipate that that number will continue to grow year by year going forward.
And how much money is spent on the educational side, or do you have a percentage that's a goal?
Yes. To date, we've spent over $20 million in our education efforts. We try to spend about half of our budget each year on environmental cleanup and half on education efforts.
And you have upcoming advertisements. What media do you typically use? Are you on television or newspapers?
Yes, we use a variety of advertising outreach to tell the story of OERB and oil and gas producers and royalty owners in the state. You may have seen some of our ads on television. We do some billboards, and our new focus in the education of citizens is we have a lot of the new media in terms of Facebook and websites and all that stuff. And so that's really the new outreach in that regard.
David House and Tim Munson are with the OERB. We'll be back with more right after this.
The thing that has made the most sense for me is realizing that I am still an educator, and that is what I do at the Chickasaw Nation. I'm Dr. Amanda Cobb-Greetham. I'm a historian, and I'm Chickasaw. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is amazing. It is a very, very special place devoted to the sharing and to the celebration of Chickasaw history and culture. State-of-the-art technology, exhibits that are not like anything I've ever seen. The Spirit Forest is incredible, and you feel as if you have actually just walked into a forest with huge trees all around you. It's timeless, and yet it's sort of also representative of our time depth, to really just sort of reach through time and touch the past. By the end of the exhibits, you really have a sense of Chickasaw cultural and political resurgence and the extent to which we are a healthy, dynamic, and vital tribe today. Chickasaws have always been an inclusive people. This is something for the whole community and for the state of Oklahoma.
In 25 years, world energy demand will grow by 44%, with oil and natural gas largely meeting the need.
The question is, will America's demand be met by American resources?
Oklahoma says yes. We're developing the largest oil and natural gas discoveries America has seen in 40 years.
It's creating jobs and millions in tax revenue for schools, roads, and hospitals.
Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry, advancing our state, empowering our nation.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. We're visiting with OERB representatives today. We've been talking about the educational effort.
Well, Tim, I wanted to go back and refocus on the educational effort that we were talking about just before the break. You've got a title of Scholastic Outreach Chairman. Tell us what that means.
Well, the Scholastic Outreach Committee is basically in charge of oversight of all the development and implementation of all of the curricula and educational programs that the OERB puts together for the students of the state.
K through 12?
K through 12 and actually beyond. We have programs that, as David mentioned, that we have programs you may have heard of, such as Little Bits, Fossils to Fuels, Petroactive, Core Energy. Those are our pre-K through high school level programs. We also have a training program that we initiated about 3 years ago for technical training to train folks who have high school degrees but for whatever reason aren't going to go into college. It's called the Petrotech program. We teamed up with Francis Tuttle here in Oklahoma City as well as Tulsa Tech in Tulsa, and we offer classes geared towards technical support type positions that give you the training you need to apply for jobs with oil and gas companies across the state. There's a tremendous need for those kind of support positions, and that was a way that the OERB thought we could have an impact, both helping the citizens of the state but also helping our industry.
The original focus that I was aware of from OERB was your restoration efforts, your cleanup efforts. Why did you branch off into educational efforts, and why did you think that was important, and how has it turned out?
Well, education is a that's the prime mover for any economy and any successful state or country, and so the original folks that put together the OERB recognized that, and we saw a great need to emphasize the focus on science and math especially, because the industry is extremely driven by science and math, and by getting our Petro Pros out into the schools and getting our curricula into the schools, we could show how the application of basic science and math is so critical to our oil and gas exploration efforts both here in the state and nationwide.
How do you get your curricula into the schools? Do you have to go through the Department of Education or through the regular school by school? How does that work?
Well, we offer a number of curricula. As David mentioned, we've trained over 10,000 teachers, and so we offer training seminars for the teachers where we show them the curricula, instruct them in how the curricula should be carried out, show them the different experiments that they can utilize in the classroom to illustrate science and math techniques. All of our programs meet past objectives, so that helps the teachers and helps take some of the workload off of them and helps assist them get their job done. And so we just offer it to the schools. As David mentioned, we're at about 95% of the schools in the state. So we think what we're doing is working. The teachers certainly give us the feedback that it's working. When you go out and meet with these young students, they're hungry for information and knowledge. They like to see you tie a topic to an application in the real world and show them how it's going to help them get a better job. The oil and gas industry typically has higher paying jobs than most industries, and students, once you make them aware of that, it sort of focuses their attention as they go through high school and on into college.
Let me focus on one more part of this. I think you indicated in your earlier comments in the first segment that you also gave materials or contributed things to the schools and to the students.
Correct.
Tangible things. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, as David mentioned, last year we gave over $500,000 of training and supplies to the classrooms.
As? I mean, what are we talking about?
Everything from calculators. It depends on the curricula.
Right.
For the pre-K, it's going to be coloring type things and project cardboard cutouts and whatnot. For the core energy, the high school curricula, we give away scientific calculators to the teachers to utilize in the classroom, and other devices that they may not be so readily available to them, or they're too expensive for them to get. And all of that is given to the teachers as a part of a kit to teach our curricula.
How do you determine, David, who gets it and who doesn't? Does everybody get it if they want it? Or?
Yes, if teachers are willing to come through our training program, then as part of that training program, they receive this large kit that has this scientific equipment in it that they can use in the classroom.
What kind of feedback from folks in the higher realm of common education are you getting about the contributions you're making?
The feedback has been very positive. Teachers appreciate the fact that we care that they need assistance in classroom supplies, and they also care that they're happy that we care about the students and that we want them to learn about the energy business in Oklahoma in a way that helps their general education through math and science.
You all also have an economic impact report. What is that about?
Yes, Dr. Stephen Agee at the Economic Research Institute at Oklahoma City University just completed a study. That study showed that the oil and gas industry in Oklahoma provides 300,000 direct and indirect jobs. 71,000 of those are direct. And it documented for us the massive impact that this industry has in the state. We pay in almost $1 billion a year just in gross production tax. And that doesn't include income tax, sales tax, license fees, application fees, and all the other fees that we pay. Of course, that money goes to fund schools, bridges, the entire thing, everything that has to be done in Oklahoma. And so we are a huge economic driver in this state.
What time period was covered by that, or just approximately by that report?
Study was primarily around 2009 data is what that report was for.
And you also work in research and public education.
Yes, we do. As far as research, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but we do a lot of things to help the teachers and provide them information to help them in the classroom. As far as public education, maybe you're talking about some of the ads that we're going to be putting together in the future. Yeah, we've done a real good job historically of getting the word out about our environmental restoration efforts. I think starting around Thanksgiving time frame, we're going to start to put out some ads talking about the importance of our educational efforts and how significant that is to the students and citizens of the state.
The industry generally has a pretty good reputation in the state of Oklahoma. Perhaps I would assume one of the highest that the public would give to the industry.
Yes, the study that you were discussing with David indicated that we have about an 83% approval rating across all folks in the state of Oklahoma, and that's very significant. Another point that came out of that study was that 78% of those surveyed said that they would recommend a career in the oil and gas industry for a child or a relative of theirs. So very positive impression of the industry here in their state. So we've done a good job of getting the word out to the folks of Oklahoma.
With the expansion of the larger independent producers such as Devon and Chesapeake and Continental Resources and the like, we've done shows with those folks, and they've indicated they're trying to bring folks in to fill jobs. I suppose you'd like to see a lot of those jobs filled by native Oklahomans, but nevertheless, there are a lot of job opportunities in your industry, are there not?
Yes, sir, there are. And the industry has continued to grow over the past several years. And the other factor in that job opportunity is that our industry is like the rest of the population. We're going to have a number of people retiring over the next 10, 15 years. And as those people retire, part of our education effort is to bring young people into the business to take those positions. And we see that as a critical mission for OERB, to interest young people in this industry because we're going to desperately need them over the next 10, 15 years.
Well, you all have certainly done a great deal of work through the years. I know over 11,000 sites have been cleaned up. It's hard to imagine.
$67 million spent cleaning up sites.
It's just every one of those sites was individually important. So I salute those that were involved in starting this program years and years ago. I've talked to people from other states, and they're just amazed by what we're proactively doing in Oklahoma. So thank you both for coming on the show. David House is the chairman of OERB, and Tim Munson is the Scholastic Outreach Coordinator. Kent and I'll have a final word when we return.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens.
to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We've been visiting with a couple of gentlemen on OERB, offering a lot of information to a lot of people in Oklahoma.
It's an astounding organization. They do so much just from the generosity and the hard work of the industry members, and that is really a unique thing in any industry.
Yeah, David and Tim were very specific to talk about the K through 12 education, which is so important when you start thinking about generationally how we're going to support this economy in the future.
Well, this industry has been, of course, very important, but it gives back in ways that a lot of industries could learn from.
And if people would like more information on the OERB, they can go to their website. It is at oerb.com. That's oerb.com. We'd also love you to take a look at our website, theverdict.tv. Tell us about a show or a guest that you'd like to see appear on an upcoming edition of The Verdict. That's theverdict.tv. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next week with another show right here on The Verdict.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.